Now, did you receive any medals or any sort of honor for your time in the service? Or?
Well, I have the Air Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, and I have the European ETO ribbon with 5 battle stars. And
what does that mean for people who don't know?
Well, in
simple
every
terms.
area you go to, usually there's a battle and a star. If you were in the Battle of the Bulge, in other words, on the ground, there was a battle star. You were in the ETO, in the European theater, and you had a ribbon, and you'd get a star for being in that battle.
Okay.
In the Air Force, of course, you covered a lot more ground due to the nature of your duty.
Right.
And so I had 5 battle stars. One was the Apennines, another one was Germany, another was the Balkans, and so forth.
Okay. And do those sit in your house today, or do you have them? Where do you have those?
Well, they're stuck in a drawer someplace.
Okay.
I know.
What would you say is your most vivid time being in the service? Maybe that one picture when you think of World War II. What's that one picture that comes? What's your most vivid memory?
Well, it's very difficult because we had some missions that were very dangerous. We've had some missions that we call milk runs, which were not so dangerous. And the fact that you flew with a group of fellows that you never knew before, but you got together in the States and flew 4 months in the States, and then we flew overseas together. Although we didn't know each other initially, we became like brothers. We went everywhere together. We did our activities together. During the lull, they sent us to what they call a rest camp. We went to Capri, and we always hung out together, whether we were the officers or the enlisted men. We were the enlisted men. We all just hung together like friends. And to this day, I see some of them.
I was going to ask that you do.
We meet. There's a fellow up in Massachusetts, Red Corps, that I meet occasionally up at Sturbridge Village. He and his wife and my wife and myself go up. We have lunch together occasionally. And the other fellows, there's only 4 of us remaining now, and we used to have reunions every couple of years. But now some of us are not as mobile as we
Right.
could be. So that has dropped off, but we still stay in contact with each other.
So you would consider that your most fond memory, your brothers, quote unquote?
Yes, I would. Yeah.
Your brothers.
I mean, we went through a lot together, but the stuff you went through, everybody goes through. But the fact that we worked together as a team and we just got along so well.
What one word would you use to describe the war, or your time in the war? But what one word? I mean, that's a tough question, but is there any way to describe it in one word, or?
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
There's one word: there's helplessness, frustration, terror.
On your part, helplessness?
Yes. As a crew, helplessness. When you see other planes going down, you know there are people in them just like there are in your plane, and you know that some may not survive. And all you can do is count as many people who parachute out, try to get their location so they can send some planes to try to rescue them. But you can't do anything to help them. And you just have to take that as part of what you had to do.
Do you remember many parts of the war very vividly, or do you think there's parts you've kind of tried to shut out?
No, the ones you remember vividly, the ones that and they stand out in your mind, are the ones that you had the most trouble, because I think as a group we had our worst time on our 3rd mission, and we really never knew how well we worked together until that time. Everyone had a job to do, and we all did our job. The plane was shot up pretty badly, but yet there was no panic among the group, and we didn't make it back to our base, but we landed in the field. And I think after that day, we felt more confident in each other, and we we knew that we were going to have we had a good crew.
Okay. Now, Frank Z, you were in Vietnam.
That's correct.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the longest war to history. It's from 1954 and ended in 1975, correct? Mm-hmm. That's a long time. You know, when you're reading it in a history book, it doesn't seem, you know, okay, dates. But
I wasn't there all that time.
Right, no. But still, I mean, to think of it today, if we had it go from, let's see, if we had it to 54 to 75, 64, so if we had to go from 2000 to 2021, basically, is what it's saying. I mean, putting it in perspective for us, that's a really long time. So I hear, though, you don't normally talk about the war. Is that correct? Did we have to bribe you?
No need.
No need.
Only for the person that asked me.
For the person that asked you, our lovely producer. Now, you were drafted or enlisted, or?
No, I actually enlisted, and I guess the Army changed from when Frank was there, because I went in when I was 17, right out of high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you still graduated.
But I had an ulterior motive, and you know, when you're at that age, you think you know everything. So I figured, well, the draft was staring me in the face. And I said, let me get in and get out so I can get on with my life. And that's really what my intention was to just get in, do my time, and get out.
Put your time in.
Right.
Like
the other thing, too, is when you enlisted in those days, you had a choice of what MOS you could have, what military occupation you could study. So I went in for computer technology. I spent a year in school when I first went in. And I thought, well, I'll never go to Vietnam. And even if I go, I'll be working on computers. Well, that didn't turn out quite that way.
And you were surprised.
But that was my ulterior motive in joining.
Okay. And you served in what branch of
the Army?
Service? The Army.
Army.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what year did you enter?
I entered in 1967, and I got out in 70.
Okay.
And
so you were in 3 years.
I was in Vietnam from 1968 to 1969.
Okay, so you were in Vietnam for a year.
Yeah.
Okay. And similar to him, you would come home?
No, not from Vietnam.
Not from Vietnam.
No.
So that year
we were
was
there
Vietnam.
for the whole year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was, I mean, you graduated high school, and then you enlisted in the Army, figuring put your time in, get it over with,
get
kind
some
of
education.
mentality. Get education.
And also when I got out, I could use the GI Bill to go to college, kind of like Frank did.
Okay. And what was that like for your family? I mean, similar? I mean, did they expect it?
We kind of bribed, you know, in those days when you were 17, your parents had a sign for you to go in. Okay. And I think till the day my mother passed away, she regretted it. We kind of convinced her, because we said, well, I'll get an education, I'll be able to work on computers and so on. But she regretted it. As soon as I got the Vietnam orders, that did it for her.
I'm sure she felt like it was she was signing you away, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
Was Vietnam thought of as dangerous as it's looked at today? Do you know what I mean by that? I mean, we look back and go, oh, wow, you were in Vietnam War. Was it thought of that way then?
The problem with Vietnam was that you could never tell who your enemy was. You know, you could be working with someone, or we had what they called hooch maids. They would do your laundry, and they would cater to whatever needs you had. And at night, they could be your enemy. So you just never knew who you were up against.
So you could definitely say you faced enemies in Vietnam. You saw the enemy personally.
At times.
At
yes.
times. What was I mean, did you get close ever to seeing the enemy? Or?
Well, what my job was there is I was on I was stationed to a detachment. I was assigned to a detachment. And I used to take artillery parts out to the field, to special forces camps, or to different towns where they needed things. And there were a couple of times where we got involved with some firefights and things like that, and I always say God bless the Air Force, because they bailed us out many times. But yes, I did have some of that experience.
Would you consider that the most scary time, or what? Maybe not, because you had confidence?
You know, at that age, I just felt I was never going to die. I went there with the attitude that I was going to put in my time and take care. You know, the other thing too, I came from a pretty rough neighborhood, and anything that came by us was a challenge. And I just felt there was nothing they can give me that I couldn't deal with.